Shorties. A collection of my shortest work. By Marina Pacheco. White Rabbit of Lisbon. I had to write a story based in Lisbon for a collection of stories called Living, Loving, Longing Lisbon. I wasn't sure what I wanted the story to be about, until I arrived one afternoon for the writing group and saw the gigantic white rabbit from the Alice in Wonderland story that adorns the metro station wall at Cais do Sodré. For those who don't speak Portuguese, Branca means white and Coelho means rabbit. Branca Coelho snapped her pocket watch shut as the metro pulled into Cais do Sodré station. It was 1 minute and 32 seconds late. It probably didn't matter, but it made her tense. She stepped out onto the platform, clutching her small brown suitcase, paused for a fraction to take in the 3-story-high murals of her ancestor, the White Rabbit of Alice in Wonderland, rushing towards the exit, and loped off in the same direction. She'd come by metro because she found it reassuring. Her particular fondness for tubes, tunnels, and metro systems ran through every link of her DNA. No trip to a foreign city was complete without a visit to their underground. She'd seen almost all the greats. New York was stifling hot, stark, plastic, and stripped to the bare essentials. London, the oldest of the lot, clung to its Victorian heritage with mostly narrow winding tunnels and tight platforms. St. Petersburg was a palace to commuting with ballroom-sized platforms, murals, mosaics, and chandeliers. Lisbon was newer, smaller, but well thought out and comfortable. The only one on her must-see list that hadn't been checked off yet was Tokyo. She shuddered at the idea of a train packed so tightly they employed people to shove commuters inside. Still, it had to be a sight to behold. Branca bounded up the stairs. The escalator was always too slow for her, and out into the depressing raw concrete station. It was such a come-down from the attractive metro below. At least it meant she wasted no time getting outside. She stepped sideways, out of the way of the commuters, mostly humans but with a few other species, and took a deep fortifying breath as she looked about. She couldn't spot any relatives, friends, or nosy neighbors who might run home to tell tales. The light from the hot summer sun bounced off the small, brilliant white square cobbles and dazzled Branca. No city in the world had more beautiful pavements, mostly white, but often with trailing, curvaceous, inlaid black patterns. She loved every inconvenient, slippery as hell bit of them. She joined a crowd of tourists and locals, waiting for the traffic light to get her across the 4 lanes of the Avenida 24 Julho. As it turned green, she dashed across, making for the shade of the small trees that dotted the plaza opposite. It was so hot she was wearing a billowy cotton sundress with a tiny pink and blue rose pattern. She also had her largest floppy hat, partially for camouflage. Although there would be no hiding her ears that poked through a pair of holes, and did a good job of keeping the hat on her head. She decided to cut through the warehouse-like time-out food market. Usually she would give it a miss, because it was full of tourists. But it was still early and emptier nowadays, what with all the hygiene restrictions. Today it was also cooler, and she skirted the stalls, barely noticing the mouth-watering food laid out like gems in a jewelry store. She had no time for that. She had to keep on her toes and not be spotted. Then she was out into the blazing sun again. She crossed the green square that was the Jardim Dom Luís, past the red bandstand-like